Happy New Year, everyone. Those who have already celebrated in Eastern Europe and to the east of the planet Earth. To those that are about to celebrate it, have fun. I still have 2 hours before that. So I'm just going to do my last year's stream, wrapping up a very awesome year. I'm just going to do a summary of what has happened. I've got this nice article of Forbes, which basically did the work for me. I'm a bit lazy, so it's okay. Sorry for the cough. It's a cold, wintry here. Everyone in my family is sick. I'm not that sick, just got a bit of a hoarse throat. Better having a steer throat. But that was a joke I just had before. So let's get on with it. After we get through this, I'll just stay on a little bit and talk stuff. So let's get on with it. This year was very productive. There were so many new discoveries that have been made, new developments, new confirmations, some debunking, etc. So to pick the best of the best, I covered most of them, if not all of the developments in the videos I made. So I'm just going to do a small summary of what has been happening. And I got this article from Forbes, as I said before. I'm going to share it so you guys can see what I'm about to do. And I'll just follow this article's chronological order as it is. It's basically okay-ish. I've covered nearly everything here except one. Sure, I'll get into a little bit depth. Remember, I have all the relevant studies and articles in the description. If I made a video, and I'll say if I made a video, you can go to that video, and you'll have all the relevant scientific data in the description. So for you to read, and please read. It's good to read. So let's get on with it. The first one is Littlefoot. I covered that not too long ago. In fact, I think you covered it last month or this month. I can't remember. Littlefoot is basically a complete Australopithecine fossil that was found some time ago, and in the 1990s, as the article says, by Ronald Clark from the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, South Africa. He found the skeleton in the Sterkfontein cave, and he spent 20 years meticulously removing the incrustations of rock around it to reveal a very complete fossil. So I won't go into it very much detail because I've already covered that before. So basically, just to recap, the Australopithecines were an early hominin in our lineage, the lineage that led to us. When I was studying archaeology, there were 3 species of Australopithecines. There was the Australopithecine africanus, Australopithecine afarensis, and Australopithecus boesii. Africanus is thought to have been slightly later, because up until now the dates were about 3 million years ago. And afarensis is Lucy, the famous Australopithecine afarensis that was discovered by the Leakey Foundation in Kenya, or was it Tanzania? I think it was Kenya. I can't remember now. But anyway, it's the famous Australopithecine skeleton, Lucy. And boesii has been demoted or changed to a new species called Paranthropus. And they were primarily vegetarian, the Paranthropus, while the Australopithecines were omnivores. So that's why they sort of moved it around since I studied archaeology in the 90s. Now, Littlefoot, I've mentioned in the video I made, Littlefoot is a bit controversial because he has many characteristics that don't fit neatly into either Africanus or Afarensis. And it's been argued that he may be a new species, and they're thinking it's still being analyzed, because the data has to be in before you reclassify a species of anything. And at the moment, there's just not enough data. There's not enough. The consensus will be there when all the data's in. So they're thinking. Clark claims that he belongs to a species that was first described in the 1940s, Prometheus, but they weren't discovered until the first Afarensis was discovered in the 60s. So they're juggling, and I'll be waiting this year and next year to further developments of Littlefoot. Check out my video. I will probably link it into the description afterwards. I've linked the descriptions of the articles which I've read, and this is one of them from New Scientist. I think I've linked it into the video, and it's controversial. Basically, it's in the description. It basically covers the Littlefoot, and it's female, by the way. It's not a male; it's a female. And quite elderly. So read it up. It's quite interesting, and there's ongoing study from multiple sources, and it is controversial because some scientists don't want to give up their discovery, and they're quite jealous, which is human nature, which is normal. So getting on to the next one. Sorry about all the publicity, especially the Portuguese publicity in this this article, but this Forbes, by the way. So anyway, another one. Neanderthals made the oldest cave art in the world. That is something that I've hinted at quite a lot in past videos, because I love Neanderthals. They are superb cousins of ours. And apparently, here it says that they live from the last 500,000 years, eventually dying out 40,000 years ago. And as I've all recapping, they evolved from us. We Neanderthals emerged from Agasta, Homo agasta, or Homo heidelbergensis, around the 750,000-ish years ago. That's when genetics tell us that we split from them, from Neanderthals. But the first fossils are around 500,000 years ago. So, and even ours, like I said now in the articles, in the videos I've made, the oldest of our species has been pushed back to 300,000 years ago, more or less. So, so it's about that. So, archaeologists, especially Alistair Pike from the University of Southampton and his colleagues and others, have studied the rock art in 3 caves in northern Spain. They found that some of the oldest artworks were at least 65,000 years old, and possibly older. As we develop, sorry about my horsey throat. Like I said, I'm a little bit under the weather, but it's not too bad. There are developing new techniques to date. Dating is one of the hardest, most method. It's hard. Dating something in the past is really, really hard. Basically, there are many techniques you can use, from radiocarbon dating up until 50,000 years ago, 50,000 years back. After that, it becomes very fuzzy. Then you have to go into the other radiometric decaying data methods like thermoluminescence, uranium lead, uranium thorium lead. There's so many techniques, but they all involve radioactive decay. And and we have been archaeologists and chemists and and specifically chemists and physicists have been refining the dating methods of radiometric dating to become much more accurate. In fact, the most accurate, obviously, is radiocarbon, because you can use the bristlecone pine from North America, Washington State, Oregon, Oregon, and Northern California to date, because they are very, very slow growing, and they have been using those trees to calibrate radiocarbon dating through the rings of those trees, going back to at least 60,000 years. So we can radiocarbon dating stretch it to 70, but accurately calibrated about 60,000 years ago. So the paintings that they have found in northern Spain, in the caves of Altamira. I was in 3 years ago in the Asturias, one of the national parks they have there, the Picos of Europe, Picos de Europa, and I know that there are some caves in the facing north to the Bay of Biscay where there are Neanderthal remnants, etc. And they have been dating those areas and then comparing them to caves like La Chaux. The paintings are not spectacular. They are simple symbols made up of red lines and hand stencils. So many of the caves that we find in Spain and France many of the stencils may indeed be Neanderthal handprints, and that is exciting. I've talked about Neanderthals producing art in past videos, more than once, in fact. So check them out. I think they're quite interesting. And so up until now, if they are confirmed to be dating to at least 65,000 years, at least later than 45,000 years, then they are produced by Neanderthals, because it is up until now, the data shows that we basically came into Europe around the 45,000 years date, 50,000 more or less, possibly. But anything older than that in Western Europe is possibly Neanderthal. Possibly. We need the data, and I will not commit myself until I know the data. So, I've linked the description. It's a nice PDF in the description. Download it, read it. It's nice, and that basically is something really, really awesome. If Neanderthals, it sort of confirms the position I hold that Neanderthals and Denisovans, which I'll come to the next one, are a race of humans. They're a race, the real definition of race. And we are one of them. We are the last ones of the race of Homo sapiens. So the next one, the article, there's a girl whose parents were of different species, a hybrid. Talked about her before. She's the daughter of a Neanderthal mother and Denisovan father. She lived 90,000 years ago. She was discovered in the cave of Denisova in the Altai Mountains in Siberia. And it's just a sliver of bone that they found. They have extracted the DNA, because I've talked about this before. The Denisovan cave, is just pure gold deposits of preservation. I've made a video before last year, explaining how hard it is to create fossils, how hard it is to preserve living matter, bone, anything that is organic. It is near impossible. You need extremely, extremely favorable conditions to preserve anything that's organic. Where I live, here in northern Portugal, the ground is granitic. It's basically granite. the dirt is granite based, the sand is granite based, and that is very acid. So any organic material that is laid down here does not survive past a year or two, because of the acidity. Where it's alkaline, like in southern Portugal, you do find in southern Iberian Peninsula, for example, in the Bourgogne region, Bordeaux area, where these Neanderthal remains have been found in Spain and France, southwestern France. They are alkalinic, so that they have a good preservation of bone at least. What's interesting about Denisovan Cave, it's not acidic, and it is cold. The average temperature year-round is 2 degrees Celsius, and so it preserved DNA from 90,000-year-old remains. It is truly a magical preservation place. It is what we archaeologists dream about when we find a fossil, that the conditions that we can extract from the surrounding, from the deposits where the material is, can yield us information, and from there they have obtained DNA from the actual cave deposits, and DNA from Homo sapiens sapiens, Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, and Homo sapiens denisovans. So, and this girl was a first generation hominin hybrid of Denisovan and Neanderthals. So, but she's not the only one, of course. As the article says, Deni is not the only hybrid. There's also Oase, one from Romania, 37,000-year-old human who had Neanderthal ancestry 4 or 6 generations before. And then there's also the Lapera child in Portugal, which was a 28,000-year-old hybrid, which has features of Neanderthal, but it is basically has both Neanderthal and Homo sapiens sapien features. So it's becoming more increasingly common finding hybrids, and I hope we can increase this frequency, becoming more commonplace. So when did we leave Africa? We evolved in Africa. People, I've been reading articles all year round, people trying to debunk the out of Africa theory, but like I said, there's a fossil collection from China which has been dated to around 200,000-ish, 300,000-ish years, 200,000 years ago, and they're trying to link it to Homo sapiens, but it is not Homo sapiens sapiens, because he has prominent brow ridges. I think I've talked about him before in a video I made, and I would suggest, if they do analyze it, I put it that the Chinese fossils from around the 200,000 year mark, 300,000 year mark, are Denisovans. And I wish that no, that's so wrong. I don't wish. I hope that they confirm that they are Denisovans, because it is much more exciting discovery there having been Denisovan than a 200,000-year-old. It's that the date is 200,000-year-old Homo sapien in central eastern China area. Because at the moment from Denisovans we have about 3 or 4 bones. We have a couple of teeth, a slither, a small piece of the small pinky finger bone, and some DNA from the actual deposits. That's all we have. But we arose, our species, Homo sapiens sapiens, archaic Homo sapiens, arose in Africa around the 300,000 year mark, time zone. We evolved from Augusta, Homo Augusta, or Heidelbergensis, who was the common ancestor between us and Neanderthals, and also Denisovans. The split genetically happened around the 750,000 year mark, but the actual fossils have been appearing around at the moment 300,000 years ago from Gebel Irhoud in Morocco. We have been finding that sites, as the more we explore, we have been finding sites firstly in the Middle East. Basically, the first fossils, the oldest out of Africa fossils are what is in the area what is now Israel. There are a couple of caves there. You have, as the article says, in Kefze and Shkul. I've known about these when I was at university. They're 120,000 year old, but they're not the oldest. In fact, in Mycelia, this January, the archaeologists described the jawbone in Mycelia cave that in Israel again, that is at least 177,000 years ago. So it pushed back 50,000 years. The Kafze and Shkul, I can never pronounce these correctly, I apologize. Discoveries, hominins by 50,000 years ago. Now, this year they've also found in Saudi Arabia lots of, in the areas of which I made a video about, finger bone from around 100,000, 200,000 years ago. And here they talk about the indirect evidence from the Chinese sites, the Guanyidong cave in southern China, 160 to 170,000 years ago, but they're stone tools. They're not actual remains. So we don't know. This is still indirect. I hope they do something with that. But even though if we emerged 300,000 years ago in Africa, in Morocco, that's the oldest so far. It doesn't, for spreading out doesn't take that much time. Calculated a hypothetical pathway of 15,000 kilometers from Ethiopia, the Omo Valley in Ethiopia, or even Kenya, to Australia, 15,000, more or less 15,000 kilometers in the most direct way. And it would only take moving, so the camp moves 2 kilometers in the direction of Australia per year. 2 kilometers per year. It would only take them 7,500 years to move, to get there. So it's theoretically possible at a very slow rate. So here it is about the human finger bone that was discovered in the Arabian desert. Is 190,000 years ago. That's what I'm on. There's another one. Yeah, it was 95,000, 100,000 years ago. There's another case of 190,000 year old remains that have just been found in September, October. I covered that, and so, but at the moment, they're still studying them because they were found on the surface, and there is a way of dating that, but morphologically they were a bit worn down. I've talked about it before, so you guys know, and it's exciting that I hope that these at least four, there's many more discoveries that were made this year. There's the ongoing cave of the ongoing excavation of Star Cave in South Africa of Omo Naledi. There's Sabida was discovered a couple of years ago, and they've been making progress in identifying. Sabida is it's a parent hominid before. Come on, brain work. Before Australopithecines. So no, Homo sabida. No, it's a hominid. Homo sabida. It's coming back to me. So we will have. Hope we have a great new year next year, not 2019 in archaeology. Hope I get better inspired. And that wraps this section up. So hello everyone in chat. I can see you there in my other laptop. Starting from the top. Hello, Beach Price, sweetie. Hello, John. Godiva, hello. Davey. For see, San, how are you, San? John, John, of course. Giovanna, tutto bene? Buongiorno. And everyone else, how are you all? I hope you're all enjoying this getting to the new year. I still have an hour and a half. It's 10:26 here. I'm on the correct time zone, the GMT. I joke. But it's I can't say that. It's quite okay-ish. Oh, how do I get there? Let's see. I want to see the chat from my. Here we go. That's better. Now I can see you from here. Paulo, how are you? Yes, it is. I'm not going to speak in Portuguese, Paulo, because my Portuguese accent just completely fucked. I have no, I can't. I don't have. I've been accused of being Galician, so from Galicia, I know, but I'm not. I'm a Celt Castrejo. So yeah. So I don't know if you know. I'm gonna post the Hangouts. Bugger it. I'm just. And anyone who wants to come along, have a chat for at least until 11:30, because then I'm going to go to my. We're going to have me and my dad. I'll post a chat now, and I'll talk to you guys as I explain why. There we go. Fun prediction in 2019 in archaeology. Oh, okay, let's have a look. Fun. That Neanderthals played a form of chess. Well, chess games. That'd be a fun prediction if it came true. We've been finding out that they're so exactly the same as us. It's weird. No, Dave, me and my dad, we don't smoke anymore. But yes, whiskey. I have a Grant's 3-barrel. It's quite nice. Exactly, Rich. Why not? So I've posted the link if anyone wants to have a chat until at least 11:30, and in an hour, up until an hour, or until we get all bored and shit. So yeah, I'm having a beer. I'm having a Duvel. It's a Belgian golden ale. It's quite nice. It's the only good thing Belgium has. So I'm not going to apologise. I don't give a crap. I like the Rolling Stones. Don't know much about. Paulo, my dad moves into my liquor cabinet. You know, the collection I have of good whiskies is just mind-boggling. I have Sienna and Amber Macallans. I have Glenmorangie. I have some Lafroig and another Isla whiskey, which is bloody awesome, smoky and stuff. Many people wouldn't like that. I have Glenfiddich, 18 years old. some that was given to me, some Justarinian Brooks 12-year-old, some Old Par, and some what's that? God damn it, Chivas Regal. So I got some nice whiskies. Yeah. No. Oh. Hello, Paulo. Tudo bem, pá? Can't hear you. Oh, you're getting through, almost there.
Hey, am I on?
Yep, you're on.
Awesome.
Cheers, man. How are you?
Great.
Not bad. Nice to hear.
Finally to talk to you face to face.
I'm not going to turn on my camera.
Yeah, no problem. Me neither.
But as you can see, my picture, my avatar thing is my face with those 8-bit glasses and my Akubra hat. Well, one of them. Running the Akubra hat. So yeah. How are you, man?
I'm great. I'm recovering from a nasty cold, which I caught on during Christmas.
Well, my wife, my mother-in-law have it. My dad is just recovering from a beginning of a pneumonia.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's okay now. He's we're gonna in about an hour's time. Well, like I said, around just before the end of the 12 o'clock. Just before that, we're gonna have a whiskey with him. So
cool.
Yeah, yeah, my wife's at my mother-in-law's house. My 2 kids are in with their partners. So yeah, it's okay. I'm anyway. So I'm a fatalist, but I'm not lonely. I'm alone, but I'm not lonely.
Oh, okay. I just stepped into my old room to turn on the computer again, but I'm gonna have to go back to the living room. We still have dessert coming up.
You do that, man. You do that.
But I can stay for a few more minutes.
Exactly. Have a good have a toast on my honor, because I'm gonna have one on everyone, all of my friends in the internet. I'm gonna have one for them. Yeah. So I'm just gonna announce it here.
My sister just turned on Dancing with the Stars, so I'm trying to avoid normality.
I can't watch those. So I quit watching television about 2 years ago. 3 years ago, since I started making my videos, I just do not go to this. My dad watches television, but he's asleep most of the time. But I hate television. I can't stand that shit. And our television here in Portugal is just pure.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got cable at home, so I usually only stay with the Fox channels. But even then, I don't really like much of the stuff that are going on. The only thing that I'm keeping up with is Hawaii 5-0.
I grew up with the original series. And I can't watch the new series, just so fucking cringy. The other one with
I think awesome. I think they jumped the shark with the last 2 seasons because a couple of the cast left. They had some money issues. They wanted to be paid as much as James Caan's son.
Yeah, of course they do. You know, the parasites from the SJ from the loony left. They want to get the same amount of money, but not work as hard or not be known as hard.
And there were the Korean Americans, you know, always going on about Asian representation.
Yes, it does, Davey. The new series Wi-Fi sucks. The only series which I sort of like on television, The Mentalist.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Castle is okay.
Yeah.
And
I've seen a few episodes.
I've watched reruns. I'm watching reruns when I eat with lunchtime or dinner, and sometimes we put it on. And also,
I forgot to watch the new Season of Midsummer Murders. It's on season 20 now.
Oh, I never watched that, so I don't know. I'm not going to start. So.
Yeah,
And
it's British. It's 4 episodes per season.
I like watching Big Bang Theory. I liked it.
Oh man, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I liked it. It's fun. It's I know there's so much SJW shit in it, but I just like it. I have a soft spot for it. So bugger it.
I'm a
That
nerd.
was
I don't act like that.
never why, but but well, I am as autistic as Sheldon. So yeah, so yeah, and how's the weather down there in Lisbon?
It's not bad. It's a bit. It's not chilly. It's damp. But we had some sun today, but
Yeah.
it doesn't do much for the temperature.
Outside it's point zero 0.01 minus point zero 0.01 degree.
Yeah, over there, up north, I imagine it is. But
And in here it's 10.6. That's why I don't get colds. I freeze where I'm in the sala the
yeah,
stove, in
yeah.
my living room. And so yeah. Hello, Mitch.
Good.
New person. How are you, mate? Sort of new person. I may have. I forget names. I forget people's names, but I can remember scientific names. God damn it! See, I'm autistic.
Yeah. No,
When I'm not insulting, I know
yeah.
it's a good thing.
I'm an automotive journalist, and I can tell you details about cars that were built in the 1980s. But ask me who's working for the government right now. I have no idea.
What newspaper? What thing do you write in? Because I love cars.
Yeah, right now I'm writing for a new monthly magazine. It's called Blue Auto, and it's mostly about ecological cars, hybrids, and
Mm.
electric cars. So
They're not very ecological, though. By the way, you need the hybrids a little bit, but the pure electrical, you need to generate electricity the hard way. How do you do that?
yeah,
But
yeah, and that's one of the problems is China. They're selling a
yes,
lot of electric cars in China. They're still burning electricity from coal plants. Yeah, that's doing wonders.
it is nuclear. Nuclear is the best way to go. We have the technology now with nuclear that is clean, safe, and we know how to store the nuclear waste without it becoming melting into the center of the earth. We can do that.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of us having a nuclear plant. But we have such nasty ecologists down here, especially down here in the south, because the ecologists all work for the Communist Party.
Yeah, of course I do. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's horrible. We don't get to have any industry. I'm actually in Setúbal, not Lisbon, so we don't have any industry down here because we have a communist mayor and one of the major ecologist groups. They always come down here to stir up trouble anytime somebody wants to do something with the river because the dolphins love having movement around.
Yeah, I know that. The unions are basically they're kicking Auto Union out, the Volkswagen plant out of Portugal.
Yeah, yeah,
It's gone. It's gone. They're fucked up.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
gonna be
completely.
happy when because Portugal, as you know, our cake is so small we can't divide much, and we are controlled by the EU and we will stay in the EU as long as they send us the subsidies.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that as soon as they cut off our subsidies, Portugal will not leave the European Union. We will invade the European Union.
Complete.
We
Oh
will
yeah.
we will stop at European Parliament after we conquered Spain, France, and Belgium, and then turn into to Germany just to smack Merkel in the face. You know that the Portuguese, the yellow vest protest that happened 2 weeks ago, last week, it was a. I was embarrassed. There were
They're
there were
like,
half a dozen. We call what we call them,
yeah.
but we call pingongs, uh, snotty idiots that were just saying there were 5 times more cops than the protesters, and the protesters liaisoned with the police, with the councils, with everything. So the people that were arrested, they were arrested for photo ops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, but the Portuguese person does not protest by going out in the street. No,
No.
I've been to 2 protests when I was working at the school, the local school that I was a janitor type person thing, and I went to 2 protests in Lisbon, in front of the Ministry of Education. It was not a protest; it was a fucking picnic.
Oh yeah.
What we had more worries about what we were taking our farnel, our lunch and shit, than
That's very
going to the
important.
fucking protest. God damn
Yeah.
it!
No,
The
a few years
Portuguese,
ago, yeah, a few years ago, we had there were major protests that were organized by the left bloc, but they were sponsored by Continental supermarkets, and Tony Carreira was invited to sing,
exactly. They're
and
not
it was on a
protesting.
Saturday.
Yeah, always on the weekend when there's nothing's going. Yeah. So to the people who are listening, the Portuguese people protest by this way. They don't protest by going to marches or violence. No, they get their bags, their suitcases, and they protest with their legs. They piss off out of Portugal. Portugal
Oh,
has problems with having no doctors, no nurses, no engineers, hardly any left because they're all pissing off overseas. And all that
mhm.
is left is the people who love the country, obviously, and the parasites, basically the Portuguese parasites. And elk, what this makes us. I'm trying to get my mind working. We're getting into my thing, but Portugal is the best country in the world because we are the worst country in the world. The dichotomy is so. I've said this many, many times. We have the most corrupt government. We have the most corrupt sporting industry, sports, soccer, everything. That's the most corrupt in the world. Our industry, God damn it, syndicats, what do you call them? Our unions are corrupt as fuck. The leaders, all they want is to get money. Like everyone, every union president and unions are there. They're corrupt as fuck.
Yeah.
But Portugal is in a privileged position that we have such low what's that word? See, I'm autistic. Low welfare payments and high costs. Portugal, we pay a hell. I don't pay much for my gasoline because I go to Spain. I'm close to Spain. But you guys in the interior and in the coastal city are worse off than I am. I'm more privileged than that.
Mhm.
But it makes our countries in such a little thing that when we ask for immigrants, those illegal immigrants, those refugees, quote unquote, we want them here because we know that Merkel will pay a Portuguese person has more than one house, sometimes normal, so they can rent another house, and they want Germans' money as much as oh man, Merkel send us our money, except that the houses are not all together. So when the refugees all come over, they come over here, we split them up from north to south of Portugal. So they're stuck in a village, a majority Christian Catholic village,
Yeah.
which we hang our prosciuttos basically showing, and our sausages, and we have pigs running around in everywhere. So they see that, and then there's only 2 or 3 mosques in Portugal. I think there's only 2, one in Porto and one in Lisbon. I know there's one in
No,
Lisbon.
no. I think there are 3 in Lisbon now, and we have one in Setúbal, but it's attended by about 10 people
10 people,
maximum.
exactly, yeah. But our Muslim population, except the Muslims that come from Mozambique, they're good people.
Yeah.
They're nice. They're awesome people. I even know I've seen the Imam of Lisbon, or the emir or whatever he is. He really is vocal against extremism. He's not. He's like
Yeah, but
even.
you once made a full page advert on Correio da Manhã just so they could retract the story they were about him being a wife beater.
Yeah, well, it's in the Quran, of course.
Yeah.
What can you do? It's in the Quran,
Yeah.
but that's nothing. He doesn't teach. He's not a Sufi or the other one, the Wahhabi. He's neither
Yeah.
of those. They're the more moderate. They are actually the more moderate. They're not financed by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, or Bahrain. They're not financed by that. They are the original Muslims from Mozambique that came over, because Mozambique, they're Portuguese. They were Portuguese, and I still consider them Portuguese. Fuck it. They're having troubles now, but that's another story. So yeah, the Portuguese people, they stick to the immigrants all over Portugal. And last year, I'm sure, Paulo, you heard on the news. It's about a year from now. They asked the Secretary of the Interior, Secretary de Interior, the Administração Interna. She was doing a nice media thing, interview, saying, "Oh, well, the people here, the immigrants, they're excited. We brought them out. We have these conditions and shit. Always the same shit. They give the good conditions to the immigrants, but they fuck the people that are on the streets, as usual."
Yeah.
And then someone asked, "How many are there here?" And that, I think because we knew that 118 came over.
Yeah.
At that time, and
we asked
they
for
asked
5,000.
we
initially got
119.
we initially got 160, and a few of them buggered off to Germany as soon as they set foot.
Because she said, "Oh, we don't know. Apparently, there's only about 15 left, but we know that they sort of went to their parents or cousins or their families in Germany."
Yeah.
So you can see why Portugal is the best country in the world. Hello, Olivia, Giovanna. God, my
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno, tutto bene? Io parlo
bene.
italiano come una vecchia spagnola. Ma hai capito meglio.
Hablo un poquito.
That's good. How are you? I've not talked to you before.
I'm good. How about you?
I'm in my normal holiday depression, but it's not depression. I just, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So,
are you ever going to do the video about Scarabray?
I'm planning this. I'm planning it. I'm hoping to do a lot of things next year. I'm getting my motivation back because I've been so unmotivated this last month and these 2 months because I stopped sort of making regular videos. So I hope to do not just videos on archaeology, but more videos. And I have something to do, and maybe when the time comes, I'll announce it. But for now, I'm still working out the details. Oh yeah. So how was I know Giovanni, you're in the United States. You still have a lot of time before the end of the year. Really.
Yeah, I've got about let's see,
East Coast, Central,
7 hours or so.
Yeah, you got 7 hours. Yeah. I'm a nerd at time zones. So just so you know.
Well, I am looking forward to the video about Scarabray. I remember the first time I ever saw any photographs of that. It just, I don't know, it touched something deep inside me, and it looked like one of the coolest things I'd ever seen.
Scarabray has more than just archaeological interest to me, because when I was growing up, I had a Commodore Amiga, and a Commodore 64, and there was a game on that called Bard's Tale. There were 3 games.
I played that. Yes, I played that on the Commodore 64.
And Bard's Tale 3 they always started at Scarabray. So I know of Skara, and then that just piqued my interest. And then when I went into archaeology, um, I had to study all the periods. Basically, I structured my course in Australia so I could come back to Portugal, Europe, and do prehistory. Because I love prehistory. I hate history. No, hate is not the right word. I don't find history as exciting, even though it is super exciting. Do you see? Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
History is written, but archaeology is just. It also is written. You can interpret it in many ways, but it is more factual, more scientific, because you can apply the scientific method where there's more objectivity. So, yeah. And prehistory, even history, especially until basically, let's see. Yeah, well, prehistory is where it's there's so much happening. History also has a lot of things. I love the Bronze Age, because I don't know if I made. Let's see if I have the photos here. May have them, may not. Let's see. Oh no, I haven't got the complete ones. God damn it. For my work, if I had to do something so they could rate me, and what I did was made a model of a Neolithic Bronze Age settlement.
And where was this at?
The Bronze Age, the settlement is a village, is basically a generic Neolithic village.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna see if I can put the photos in I have them in my phone, so I'll send you the finished. I'll propose the finished model here.
Cool.
It's one of the things I find it part of. I love experimental archaeology. That was where isn't it appearing here? Oh, there it is. And I've done more models of the traditional architecture with my colleagues, so on, for another facility which I have here. It's one of the entrances to the national park where I live. I live inside a national park, by the way. So just
Cool.
something's nice. And we did models of traditional houses, a lot of stuff. Let me just load up the photos. It takes a bit of time. I'll post the two last ones which I made, which it's there. It's already in the museum. And I'm quite proud of my little model because I made it scientifically accurate. Scale 1.60 m is 6 centimeters. That's my scale, which I used, and I followed that through. And I should get some recognition from my bosses and so on. It's loading up. Takes a bit of time. I'm having a nice beer. I already told that in chat.
What kind of beer are you having?
It's a Belgian beer. It's Duval, a golden ale.
Uh-huh.
And choose the better one. Let's see. Put these two. I think these two are nice.
I'm not much of a beer drinker myself. Very picky about beer. I do like Pilsner Urquell, and there are some Belgian ales that I like. I'm very fond of Belhaven, which is a Scottish ale, and probably the best beer I've ever had in my life was Innocent Gun, oak-aged beer from Edinburgh.
That's nice. I've drank it as well. It's very, very nice. I like the British ales as well. I'm into craft beers now. I sort of I don't hate. God damn it, I don't hate. I just don't like as much the industrial type of beers, which even though I drink them for dinner and lunch when I have lunch and dinner. But when I'm sitting like I'm sitting now in the computer, I always drink one beer while I'm sitting here. Even if it takes me 3 hours to sit at playing a game, talking to people, and so on, I only drink that beer. So I sip it, enjoy it. So I'm going to share the model I made, so everyone can see. Please don't post this on Facebook, because we're doing I have to do a announcement in our local newspaper. That's the model I made. The
Very
animals,
nice.
the animals are just for children, but it represents 4 houses. The three distinct styles that were prevalent in the Bronze Age. There was the Longhouse, which continued until modern times. In fact, it continued until the Middle Ages.
Right.
Many 2-story and so on. They were boarded, daubed, so they made a trellis, and then they put mud around that trellis to reinforce it and to protect it around that trellis, and it represents how it was built. Then another one that shows how it's completely just being built. You have, if you can see, here, this is an oven to cook the bread. A roundhouse. Then you have a pen.
Roundhouse.
Yeah, a small roundhouse. Yeah, the houses were round. The rectangular houses came in more prominent in the the Iron Age. We have them in Portugal, so I know how it is. And the hills, some from farming, which is in the back. Oh, let's see if I can come on. I've got plutocrat. This part here is representing 3 stages of grain harvesting. I used a carpet, you know those Hessian type carpets that you wipe your feet out at the doorway.
Right.
Yeah, and then I used some rope which I twirled to make it look like thatching. All recycled. This is all recycled material. So I used paper, newspapers. I used cardboard from boxes. I used old chicken wire mesh to reinforce it. I used the trees are basically small twigs and so on. I used the green stuff. Is those? It's like polyurethane type foams that the florists used to. They soak them in water and they stick the flowers in for them to preserve a long time. Right. So what I did? We had All Saints Day here in Portugal, and the couple of days later, I went to the cemetery bin and I just nicked a few of those. I dried them and. Right? Yeah. I recycled. The dirt is coffee grounds from the local cafes.
Cool.
Yeah, and the sand is just builder's sand. I try to find the most smallest grain. So that's how I do the models. How we do the models. We are totally ecological in my place of work.
A little cow pen over here, and the roundhouses were very prominent in the British Isles. You may not be aware of this, but there are a couple of roundhouses in Florida that were built by the Creek Native American people, which are very, very nice. I've been inside one of them.
Exactly. Yeah, they should be. Yeah, roundhouses is
same
very,
style and everything. I mean, I don't think they had thatching like that, but
they didn't have grains. They had different type of grasses, of course. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, these would have been in either rye or wheat hay. to make the thatching. They were or even barley. In some areas, barley was used. So it's just a local grain that you had, that you basically grew. Where I live, it's rye, prominent grain. Central and southern Portugal, it's wheat, and rye, and the beer producing barley is now becoming more prominent where I live in Portugal, because craft beers are just exploding here.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I do like. I generally, speaking of beer again, in America, the standard really is lager, and I really don't like lager. It's kind of, we call it American piss water.
I used to drink Foster's piss water.
Yeah, I've had some Fosters. When I was in undergrad, I had a guy friend who turned me on to all kinds of different beers, so I could kind of figure out if I liked something or not. And he was the guy who actually introduced me to Pilsner Urquell. So that I do like Pilsner better than lager, but if I were going to pick out a beer to drink, it would be probably a Belhaven Scottish Ale or the Innocent Gun Oak Aged beer.
The beer that I drink mostly here's a bock. It's called Super Bock, but it's a bock type beer.
I like Bock as well.
Pilsners are
Bock.
Pilsners is it's in summer. It's the best beer you can drink. It's so light, just drink it. It's nice, yeah. But I do drink that. But when I'm here at my desk, I like different beers. I have I have still 10 cans of Guinness Stout. Our local big breweries are producing some nice porters, which are limited edition bastards. So I can, whenever I get porters, I buy them. And then there's Franciscana. I buy a lot of that because it's everywhere here. German beer, a lot of German beer, a lot of Belgian beer, a lot of Dutch beer, and we used to have a Tuborg here a lot, but it's sort of gone out of fashion. Even though I liked it, Danish Tuborg, that was nice. So yeah.
I've had German beer in Germany. It tastes a lot different here in the United States because when it's imported to the U.S., it has to be pasteurized, and so a lot of the dark beers wind up tasting like burnt coffee instead of the way they taste in Germany.
Yeah, we are sort of lucky because we don't need it's European rules, so European rules mean Germany rules, so. So yeah. But
if I'm more of a wine drinker, and I generally
love wine
like
as well.
those kind of fruity white wines. I really like Moscato.
You need to drink Alvarinho.
What is that?
That is our local white wine. It's a cask that it's about. It's quite old, but it's unicast. It's Alvarinho. It's a white wine. It has 13% alcohol compared to the rest. Do you know Vinho Verde, green wine, Portuguese green wine, Vinho Verde?
No, I've never had it.
It's a really low alcoholic wine that usually had 10% alcohol. And in that region, whites and reds were all that. It's very acidic. Those wines are very acidic because they're young wines, etc. But then Alvarinho grows in the northernmost counties of Portugal, Melgaço, where I live, in Monção, next one, and they produce them in such a way that they're like sultana grapes, but they're really small, and they produce 13% alcohol. But they're acidic, and you have to serve them cold, right? So you're sitting down. We have a festival every August here about the wine and so on. So I love watching people out of the area who never drink it or don't drink it as much, because the locals, we know how it hits, but the people that the people that don't know it, they sit down. You can drink 5 bottles of that wine, and while you're sitting down, you won't feel a thing. The problem comes when you stand up.
Uh-huh.
And I went about 4 years ago. I went to the festival, and I was walking past this lady. There were this group. There were seven people, and they had 22 bottles of wine in that table. Right. And this lady, she was talking a bit louder, so I noticed her. And she was pouring the last glass or something. She drank it and said, she was saying, "Oh, this wine is so nice and light and refreshing and everything." And I got to go to the toilet. That's what she said. She got up. She froze. I was looking at her. She froze. As soon as she stood up, she froze. She still had a glass in her hand. And she toppled backwards. That's it. That's what happens. And she went to the hospital, got a few stitches. She had to be pumped out because she was getting alcohol poisoning. It's beautiful, refreshing wine, but it gives you doesn't give you a kick. It gives you a semi-trailer run over when you stand up.
It kind of sneaks up on you, huh?
It does, man. I've gotten close to getting drunk on that one, and that one because I don't get drunk easy now. Just my liver's gone. So thanks to my neighbour, evil bitch, and her cunt of a husband, old bastards. They've been fucking making our lives terrible. But I've just fucking don't care anymore. I've turned them off. I pass by them. I literally walk by them and I don't see them. I literally do not see them. So I don't care about them. If they fall and die in front of me, I just keep walking. I didn't see them. So I don't care. Anyway, so I was that close to a depression. And so I started drinking whiskey. Cheap stuff. Well, €10 whiskey is not too bad. William Lawson's, Clan McGregor, and Cutty Sark. I was drinking 3/4 of a bottle per night.
Oh my.
Yeah. And to last year, I said, fuck that, stop. No, 2 years ago, I said, nope, stop, fuck that, stop. I stopped. So now, I can't get drunk. I drink a lot when I used to drink a lot. I drink much, much less now, but it doesn't give me a kick anymore. So I said, fuck it. So I'm enjoying now. I'm just enjoying the beers and the whiskey. I sip them slowly and enjoy them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm also pretty fond of single malt Scotch. The one that I like best is Oban, which comes from the West Highlands.
Ooh, I don't know that one. I gotta find it out.
Oban. Check that out.
Yeah. I've just written it down. Oban, Oban.
Isle of Jura is another good one. It's from a little to the southwest of there. It's a little more peaty.
Like Isla, like Isla.
Isla.
Oh, Isla, yeah.
Isla in English.
There are so many ways to pronounce it. There's
Isla is the Gallic pronunciation, and
Isla, exactly.
Isla is the English pronunciation.
Isla, yeah, exactly. And I got two. I got Lafroig and the starts with D. Can't remember now. It's 16-year-old single malt Isla whiskey, and it's a whiskey that not a lot of people could enjoy because of the peatiness and the chocolate and the coffee aftertaste, and you have to get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten used to it after my third shot, and I've stopped because I don't want to. It's hard to get by. I spent 2 years getting it, and my mate got his new supplier said, "Nah, get me these whiskies." He has two more bottles, one of each of the ones I have, and I'm probably going to buy them because no one else is going to buy them.
Yeah.
It's just an acquired taste. They won't like it. I know they won't like it.
A lot of Americans are very fond of Speyside whiskey, but those are marketed to the yuppie crowd, so you find ads for them in like GQ and magazines like that. The only Speyside that I really like is Aberlour. It's a little different from the rest.
Speyside basically is where Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, those areas, those whiskies come from.
Right. The Macallan is one of the ones
Macallan.
that
I
everybody
have
thinks
them both.
is so
Yeah,
great.
I have the amber and the sienna. I haven't drank the sienna yet. I've drank the amber, bottle of the amber, and I haven't opened them yet. So I got a few. Another one. What's it called? God damn it! I can't remember the names. Oh, my brain. But yeah, I like whiskey. I like whiskey for a reason. I like whiskey over, say, brandies or cognacs. I find cognacs and brandies sweet. That's me. That's just me. They are awesome as well. But you see what I mean? They're sweet.
I do like a peach brandy, but it's something I can't have a lot of.
They are
Don't
strong.
do it very often.
Yeah.
There is what is that called? There's a sort of a fortified wine. Goodness, now I've lost. Can't remember what it. Sherry. Oh yes, sherry is an interesting thing, especially the cream sherries. Those are pretty good. And then there is tawny port. I like that.
Oh, we have a lot of good ports. Tawny, LBV, vintage. I like the vintage.
The only kind of dry, whenever I drink red wine, I can either do sweet or I can do dry. The only really dry wine that I like is red. I don't like dry white wines much.
Oh, you need to come to Portugal. We have really good dry red wines. Douro, the one that I love the best. Alentejo, Dao, Setúbal. Paula's area produces a very nice dry wine. Setúbal, it's a very good wine. Then there's the Lisbon area, Ribatejo. We are getting in the dry, not the green wines, the other normal wines. Really good quality. A few of them mix Cabernet and some Sauvignon to them, but the best Portuguese wines do not have them. They have the 3 to 4 castes of wine. There's the Tauriga Nacional, Tauriga, what's it called? I can't remember the names, but there's 4 grape species, whatever you call them, that they are common in the 2 bigger areas, Douro and Alentejo. They're the same wines, basically, they're exactly the same, except because they come from 2 different geographical areas, they are totally different in their character. The different soils, different climate, temperature, everything. I prefer the Douro, which is more northern Portugal, than the Alentejo. The Alentejo is the big central southern part of Portugal. The wine is superb, but just my taste buds prefer the northern ones because there's something that maybe it's because of the granitic dirt, that soil that they're grown in, that gives them something that I can't explain. See what I mean?
Yeah, the soil definitely does have an effect on wine. Soil with a lot of tannin will affect the flavor.
The southern part of Portugal, the wines are more tanniny than the northern part because they're colder in higher latitude, higher altitude wines, and again the granitic soils that reduce the tannin taste, that bitterness that I find in the highly tannin wines and so on. Like Bordeaux, I love Bordeaux wines, and but I noticed the tannins in it.
Yes.
And I don't mind them. I love them. They make beautiful accompanying a roast or something. But you notice the tannin. I prefer the Northern Portuguese dry wines because they're the same quality and everything, but just less tannin, less bitterness, less that bitter, slightly bitter aftertaste.
It does. Yeah, the south of France seems to have a lot of tannin in their wines.
It must be the alkalinic soils, I think. The same with Portugal. The southern region wines have a little bit more that tanniny taste. And to me, I prefer the less tannin taste. That's just me. I'm not saying they're worse or better or worse or whatever. It has nothing to do with quality because in this day and age, North America, Europe, even South America, Australasia, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, those countries that are emerging as wine producers, the quality is there. It's just the taste, the individual taste of all the products. None of them are bad. There are some exceptional ones in each area, obviously, because of the carefulness. But I think, I prefer some tastes to others. But again, I'm not saying that they are bad or no, just subjective taste. The quality is there. Luckily today, now in this day and age, we have great quality stuff. Oh yeah. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap it up because how long I've been doesn't matter, about 75 minutes or 75 minutes, yeah. So it's been an honor and a pleasure talking to you, Giovanna.
Oh, it's very nice to come in and talk with you as well.
We should do this more often. This is the only time I can really talk around this 10-ish, my time, 10 to 11 midnight. I know it's later for you because you guys in the USA are still in the morning. I have been catching a bit of the streams you've been doing with Jeff and
Nick.
Yeah. I love them both. As I love you, of course.
You do have
platonically.
special guest status in my servers, so if you want to come into one of my streams sometime, that would be cool.
If I ever can, I will obviously ask you first because I don't just jump. I used to jump in, but I've grown up. Even though
I wouldn't have given you special guest status if you weren't welcome to come in, and so you are welcome to come in.
If I can ever, exact. Thank you. I try. I've improved my because I used to be a cunt. I used to ask, let me in, and then I'd be half drunk and like, hey, I used to be a mess. But now I'm more. I've grown up. I have actually grown up. This is YouTube. And these 4 years I've been on YouTube, it's been and Twitter and so on have made me grow up, and it's quite good. Yeah. But I'm still a child at heart. I love having fun.
Yeah.
Always
just remember, you don't stop playing because you get old.
Nope.
You get old because you stop playing.
Exactly, yes. And so thank you for coming along. Thank you. Well, I mean it. Thank you with all my heart. We may not agree politically, but that is absolutely fine. That is.
I think we have a few ideas in common.
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, absolutely.
We're certainly both anti-authoritarian, right?
Yes, and ecological. I love ecology, even though I don't want to pay taxes because I want everyone to do it, not just one group of people to do it.
Right.
Okay? So, yeah, we do have a lot of common. So, I'm going to go off now. I'm going to go to my dad. Have a chat with him. We're going to have a little whiskey, me and him, chat a bit. Right. So, thank you all. Thank you, chat, people in the chat. I want to wish you, everyone in the chat, an absolutely wonderful New Year's passing to pass the new year. Everyone, you have to step with your right foot when the clock hits 12. That's a tradition we have here. And may next year be the best year for everyone. That's
Happy New Year.
So happy New Year's. Bye bye, everyone.